Hey, Steve, can you kind of take us through what went into deciding to bring Steph off the bench and how you think that worked overall?
Well, we knew we wanted to play him 25 minutes or so. Not so much based on his knee, but based on his conditioning. And we played really well in game one, so we decided to stick with Nick in the starting lineup and then just play Steph in Quinn Cook's minutes and then just kind of pick it up from there and see how it went. So I would say it played out as I expected. I knew I would play him more than what we planned. I think we planned on 24, and he got to 27, but he was, he was Steph. He doesn't take long to warm up, that's for sure.
Steve, what did you guys do coming out of halftime to kind of keep the momentum and pick up the defense? It seemed going.
Well, I didn't think we were nearly as good tonight defensively as we were in game one, and we talked about it at halftime about picking it up. We knew New Orleans was going to come at us. Game two, this is very predictable after a blowout in game one. The other team's coming at you. I've seen it a million times, and the way New Orleans comes at you is in transition. They had 20 fast break points in the first half, so we were not ready for their force, and that's what we talked about at halftime.
Steve, you always said that Draymond, you want him on the edge. He's best when he's on the edge. When you saw him early yelling in Mirotić's face and going at it with Rondo, did you like to see that, and did it tell you about where Draymond's mindset was this game?
I do like to see it as long as there's no technical involved, but I thought those 2 threes he hit to start the fourth quarter were probably the 2 biggest shots of the game because we were kind of struggling, and the ball found its way to Draymond, and so those were big shots that gave us a little bit of a lead. But Draymond's been just phenomenal throughout the playoffs. I think he's been saving himself for the playoffs. It's a long regular season, especially after 3 straight trips to the finals. And you can tell the difference in the intensity from a lot of our guys, but Draymond in particular.
Coach Kerr, how would you assess this game? Would it think it was a little bit more physical than it normally has been with bodies flying around?
It's exactly what I expected. They have a hell of a team, and Anthony Davis said after game one they were embarrassed, so we knew they were going to come after us. So very physical game, very competitive game. We played well enough to win, but we're going to have to play better in New Orleans.
Steve, after game one, you said that was as loud as you'd heard Oracle all year. How would you describe the atmosphere tonight, and in particular when Steph came in for the first time in the first quarter? Yeah,
it was loud again tonight. It was great. So fun to play here, especially in the playoffs. And that was a special moment when Steph checked into the game. And it's always fun to hear our home crowd, and Steph has worked really hard over the last 6 weeks to prepare for this, and I love the ovation that he got.
Klay obviously very rarely has off shooting nights. What is it about him and his confidence that prevents sort of these off nights from ever becoming ruts? They seem to just be anomalies all the time.
Well, he's a lot like Steph. He's just going to keep firing, even if you're up 10 with 1:30 left and 20 seconds on the shot clock. Sorry, I couldn't resist that little jab. Tough night for Klay. Ball didn't go in, but I love his aggression, and we need him firing away like he did, and those shots will go in New Orleans.
KD at one point I think had 17 points on 14 shots. He was just not efficient in the first 3 quarters, and I think he had 15 in the fourth. What got him going?
Just his talent, his aggressiveness. It was at one point I think he was like 6 for 17 when I looked at the stat sheet in the fourth quarter, and he went 5 for his last 6 by my count. And so we kept going to him. Obviously, he hit the big ones down the stretch, and then he found Steph for that 3 that looked like it sealed it, put us up 13 with 1:40 left, I think. And so Kevin was great. our guys really battled. We didn't play very intelligently, obviously, down the stretch, but, they got into the fight and took control of the game.
Steve, knowing that the Pelicans were going to come out, hard, playing hard after that first game, what kind of emotional boost do you think Steph's return gave to the rest of the guys?
Well, it was a good night for it to happen. I mean, it's going to be an emotional boost anytime Steph steps on the floor after an absence. But this was a good night for it, given that we won Game 1 comfortably, and we had a feeling, New Orleans was going to come after us pretty hard. So perfect timing, and he came in and, slow first quarter for us, and everything changed as soon as he walked onto the floor.
Steve, you talked about Draymond sort of raising his game in the playoffs. In rebounding in particular, he's been very productive. At his size, giving up the size he gives to Davis and other guys, what allows him? Is that positioning? Is that determination? How is he able to sort of compensate for that size disadvantage?
Everything. Competitive desire, incredibly long arms. So even though I think he's about 6'5", honestly. Because when I talk to him, he doesn't look that much taller than me. But really, really long arms, very strong legs. So he establishes position down there. And he's incredibly smart. He's one of the smartest defenders I've ever been around. And so he kind of beats people to a spot, and then he uses his strength. And then the length comes into play. And then he yells and screams and intimidates and all of the above. So he does it all.
Steve, what was going through your mind when you put Steph in at the 420 mark? First catch, and it's going up. He's 11 seconds into the game, and he's launching already, and naturally he hits it.
Yeah, it was funny. We called a play that we like to run just to get some movement, just to get the ball moving, and ball swung to him, and he just launched, and didn't surprise me. That's who he is. So that was a fun moment. Art?
Yeah, Steve. AD seems to, once he gets in the paint, with your matchups, is almost unstoppable. I mean, obviously you stopped him, but what can you do about him? He shoots so well for a big guy.
Yeah, I mean he's a load. He's one of the best players on earth, and so again, you try to take away his easy ones. If we can keep him from getting put-back dunks and rim runs and easy shots, and just make him work, that's about all we can do.